Welcome back. I'm Connie Sokol, your host, with our beautiful Call to Create podcast. And we are thrilled and honored to have fantastic guests today that you will know, remember, and love. We have the Jets, and we are going to share beautiful thoughts, experiences, and insights that they have had on their journey as being members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and navigating how to put faith and creativity and professional skill into the mix and make it successful and keep it going for over 40 years. Incredible. If you have been in a cave and you do not yet know the fun, funky sounds of the Jets, let me enlighten you. They are a Tongan American family from, of course, Minnesota, because that makes total sense. They're composed of 8 brothers and sisters who perform pop, R&B, and dance music. And they started performing as a family back in 1977. And they still got moves, people. The group enjoyed worldwide success between 1985 and 1990 with 3 world tours and produced 5 top 10 hits on the US Billboard 100. Oh, wow. Yes. So we get to glean from them today how they made this amazing journey happen and still making it happen. Welcome today, the Jets.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes. Thank you.
We're so privileged to have Haini, Vanessa, Rudy, and LeRoy here with us today. And we're just going to jump right in because we want to know the scoops. We want to know about what this was like for you. Now, when you hear about a family band, hasn't there always been that feeling of, hey, let's just put on a show? But you guys did it. Was this something you kind of planned, or did it just kind of spontaneously happen, like a Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland kind of experience?
Well, growing up, my parents, when we came from the islands, we were an immigrant family, and we settled in Salt Lake, and actually also kind of moved around in the West Coast, Frisco, and so it was just my dad thinking, man, the kids are here, we got to feed these guys. And so when they saw the Osmonds and they saw the Jacksons, I guess the light went on my parents' mind and my dad and said, why don't we start a band? Yes. And so in terms of it being planned, it kind of came from my dad and mom seeing that, and it turned out to be a great idea.
Love, absolutely love. And I love that they were forward thinking, that a family could play together and stay together and still be able to be active in the gospel. So what was that as far as kids? What was that journey like for you?
Well, as LeRoy mentioned, my dad came up with the idea one day, and we were all like 8, 7, 6, 5, all the way down to 2 years old. And it sounded fun the first day. We didn't realize it'd be like a 7-year journey before we even became the Jets, and that there would be like 10,000 hours of practice, and there'd be sacrificing all the time with your friends. They'd be knocking at the door after school, and we're like, sorry, we can't play. Yeah. We missed out on a lot of that stuff, but the sacrifice was worth it. And in return, we were able to accomplish the goal and what we wanted to do, and we still know how to play instruments up to this day. So something good came out of it, but a lot of hard work. It's never easy. People think that it's, it just happened, and no, we had to travel on the road. We were homeless for a while. We lived on bread and water. My dad shot a moose on the road. There's a lot of cool stories in there, but it was by no means easy.
Right.
I love that honesty. Was that hard as a child to be able to let go of that, I'm not going to have a normal childhood, and really be able to enjoy the perks of having something that other normal childhood kids would look at and go, I wish I had that? Were you able to make that transition? And what helped you do that?
Well, my dad, he had a yard work business, and that was where we got our first lessons, especially in the summer heats of Utah. We were out cutting lawns, cutting trees, and I think that's where we kind of cut our teeth, and I guess our dad saw sweating and doing it, there's got to be a better way, of course, and it was the choice that, are we going to do yard work as a family, or do you guys want to do music? And of course,
we were such a big family that I guess we never knew the difference of missing friends, because there's 17 kids in the family, so we always had a buddy to hang out with. It wasn't until we grew up that we realized, shoot, we missed a lot. We did miss a lot, but in the return, I mean, if going to the Grammys and playing at the White House and playing all over the world was a sacrifice.
My dad just kind of had this idea, they say build it and it'll come. Well, his was get the instruments in the living room, and then when I got there as a 10-year-old, wait, guitar, bass, drums, and boom, it was like, okay, guys, if Nephi can build a ship, we can build a band,
I love it. And that was a question I had. How did everybody find their place?
Well, everyone can pretty much play all kinds of instruments. We're kind of blessed in that way, but
Yeah.
Rudy's the drummer. And
It was we just knew that my father was inspired, and we were able to do what we were supposed to do, and it just came naturally. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
practice.
Well, and you had that environment. It seems like that was the reference point of we get instruments, we play, we all find a spot. He tells us where we're going. Let's do this. And we're doing it together as a family. And like you said, we'd either be cleaning up or we'd be doing yard work or we'd be doing this. This is what we do.
That's right. Yeah, and my dad was fearless type. I mean, he used to work at Safeway, milk department, and he just told I'm going to quit. And the family thought we were crazy. He thought my dad was crazy. And we literally hit the road. Canada was the first stop of all places. We went from Salt Lake. We left like in the middle of winter and went right up there. And it was, my dad's kind of adventurous. I guess he had that island mindset and just get out there and follow the dream. And that's what he did, with us and going crazy up there. But
That's amazing. So did you get like a bus or did you stay at hotels?
So my dad had a motorhome, and our contractors, we would go to hotels and also restaurants to perform our traditional luaus, and we all did a Polynesian review show, and that's how it was the first 5 or 6 years doing that.
Wow.
yeah. And we did that for a while. It's just sort of what happened. And after those years, we did wind up back in the States and then had a call to the Midwest. And this is how we got to Minnesota. And there was another Hawaiian chain. It was in Des Moines, Iowa, Minneapolis, and North Dakota. And so every 3 months, we would be a month here, and we would just rotate to these hotels. We did that for about 3 years, and the place went bankrupt. And we were literally stranded, in our skirts there in Minneapolis. We had bankrupt. We go, okay, Dad, what do we do now? And so that was when we said, okay, let's switch to top 40 music. And what was really interesting is that we happened to be at the right place at the right time, because this is when the Minneapolis sound, Prince, blew up with the Purple Rain. And we would just happen to be at the right place at the right time. So it was great.
A lot of record labels were coming to Minnesota to look for bands, and we happened to be one of them.
Right.
Who would have guessed? Like when you think of hotspots to find bands, I'm not sure Minneapolis is the first one that comes to mind for most people. I love that. In fact, and look at the timing for you and your family. So let's talk about that for a minute. How did you navigate now doing this pop music? How did you make that transition?
Well, we were called Quasar, and it was after the TV set Quasar, because we were big fans of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we liked all that flashy choreography, and so we wanted to do that kind of a show. And as we got out there, a guy that happened to retire from Motown, his name is Don Powell, and he lived right around the corner of a little lounge that we performed at. And he came out to the show, and that's kind of how we were discovered. He couldn't believe what he was seeing and saying, this is the next Jackson 5 family, and the rest is history.
Mind you, when we were doing these Polynesian reviews, we always did top 40 music on the side as well. So we were constantly playing pop music even from the beginning.
Yes.
It was just kind of after our show, we would play 15 or 30 minutes of popular music. So we had it in our system already, playing pop music and writing music. LeRoy was the main writer of the day, and we would pitch in. So when the shows went bankrupt, we switched completely to playing pop music and playing clubs and bars at that point.
And it came to the part that, when my dad was trying to figure, we were either going to go to New York to find our life or go to California. We remember praying and fasting about that, and somebody just kept telling my dad, stay right in Minnesota. And of course, that's what led to us meeting Don Powell and that whole connection.
I wanted to ask you guys, it sounds like your faith was woven through this experience. How did you stay active, not just in the church, but using those gospel principles, in this blingy environment?
We were very blessed. I think you hit the nail right on the head. we were grounded with our faith. And I think the greatest motivation to our family was our faith, and our father's vision was that our family could be a light. You know, we looked to the Jackson Five, the Osmond family, and we were so touched by the way they were as a family. And my parents just thought, you know, what a better way to share a light than as a family. So when we did get signed, and when we started coming on TV and radio and all these world tours, it was actually very easy for us to stay away from those things that didn't make sense to us, because we had our values, our morals, and it kept us grounded, and we were able to, you know, just share our light. You know, I think that was our main goal as a family, was to just be the best light we could be.
Mm. So if you could let us know, as you started going down this road, you're seeing success, you're doing these world tours, that must have been mind-boggling for you as kids, as opening up to all these different places and situations, not Minneapolis anymore, right? So what was that like for you?
It blew us away, just to be able to go out and just see the world. It was exactly what my father said would happen if we worked hard, if we kept the faith, and everything that he had mentioned to us as kids, because we just believed as little kids. And then to actually see it happen was just amazing to us, to be able to go and travel, to get on airplanes, to live in hotels, to meet all kinds of celebrities, and also to be a celebrity at that point. We were like just amazed that we finally were experiencing the very thing that our father said would happen.
Yeah, as Rudy mentioned, you know, when we first started in those family meetings, my dad would say, okay, raise your hand if you want to fly in an airplane, and we're all like, raise your hand if you want to travel the world, raise your hand if you want to stay in a hotel. At the very last, he said, well, you can have all of that, but you're going to have to practice every day, and you're going to have to give up a lot. Right. So as he mentioned, you know, we were able to see faith and works in action and be able to do that, but we're just grateful for our father and his vision and helping us to, you know, get to that plateau.
Yeah, people always ask us, how did you guys do it? And I personally, I would say, if it wasn't for our Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ, there would be no Jets. And I give all glory to the Savior and to our Heavenly Father, and just the fact that we can do this. Like, we just did a fireside last night. We so enjoy that. Yeah, it's like sometimes I enjoy that more than our actual show, because I just know that holds so much eternal weight, just sharing and bearing our testimony to people about our Savior. Yeah.
Love it. And you can feel that this whole 40-year experience has been strengthening that. It's like it's magnified that, instead of it's chipped away at it, or it's taking you on strange roads, which it could have easily done. I love the point that you bring up, that he says he gave you the reality check. You're going to have to practice every day. But the reality is, our kids are going to have to practice something every day. And we as adults will have to and are practicing something every day. What a gift that you saw at an early age. If you do this, then this could happen. And then you enacted that faith. And then you put in the effort. The Lord loves effort. And I'm so excited for you. Kells Goodman, he just did a documentary on y'all for Making It Real, called Making It Real. Yeah. And I can only imagine what that experience must have been like, going back through the scrapbooks of your mind, of all those experiences. Were there any top takeaways that you gleaned from that documentary experience that came to you, of what you became, or what you learned, or what it has been for you? Any top takeaways that came for you?
Just the fact of the matter is of just being perseverant and making sure that you have a dream and you go for it. I'll tell you a story. When we were in California as kids, we went to Disneyland to try to audition there, and we were turned down. We ended up, before we went home, we ended up at Universal. And while we were there, we were just, there at the park, my dad brought us all together and said, you know what, I want to tell you something. This will be the very place that you will come back to, and this will be our record label. And as kids, we just kind of believed that. We didn't know why, but 5 years later, Universal became our record label. And it's because of just that vision. So I take away just having a vision and believing in what your purpose is. That's kind of what I got from it. It's just, there's always all these different roads in life, but if you have a vision of where you want to go it will eventuate if you stay the course.
And my takeaway is that we're not a perfect family. We have our dramas. In fact, our family went through, like a lawsuit. We're not perfect, but what I'm grateful is that through the atonement of Jesus and His forgiving us, I can forgive my brothers and sisters, and it was so good to see that we were able to heal and come back before my dad passed away several months ago, and just to see the happiness in his eyes, and that we came together as a family. The journey of life is real. We go through heartaches, we go through, trying to kill each other. But the main point is, at the end of the day, we can come back. The gospel of Jesus Christ does help us to come back as individuals and families.
It's beautiful. And I love the point you make. This is a real gospel, that it's utilized in real things, whether you're on a world stage or you're in, your neighborhood. And the point that you make of your real families, this is so vital. I can't even imagine having regular family drama and then in a spotlight. And then you add on religious aspect of being Latter-day Saints and people judging yourselves and all those things, all those pieces. It is a miracle how well everybody has come out. And I love what you said, that really is back to that atonement of Jesus Christ, and the way that you utilize your talents to reflect that, to teach that, to be an example of that, has blessed all of you in the process. Haini, did you have a takeaway you wanted to share?
We lately have been performing in a City of Lights, Las Vegas, for the last couple of months, and just finished about 105 shows. It's like Rudy and I voices sound like we got frogs in there, but trying to be a light in Las Vegas is tough. But just our whole life has always been pointed towards one thing: trying to be a great light and reflect the Savior's countenance in ourselves to the world, really.
One thing we experience in Las Vegas is that people come see our show and we take them back to a happy time, the 80s and the 90s. And we're just amazed that when we have kind of a meet and greet right after the show, and we're just amazed at how many people are touched by what they saw. And we're just grateful that, every time before we do our show, we're in prayer, and we pray that people will have an experience there in Vegas that will be positive.
Yeah, it's funny because we've been told a lot to maybe adjust our wardrobe so that it's more Vegas-like and show more skin. But with our beliefs, we wanted to keep it family-friendly. We wanted to have the spirit there so that people could feel that. And like Rudy said, when we go out to do our meet and greets, we have people coming up to us that say, we're a joy, we're a light, we're a blessing, we're an inspiration. And to have all that, it's the spirit. It is. We had one particular experience that I'll never forget, because we had a gentleman come in and his wife, and she looked at us and she goes, "You guys are heaven sent, you're a blessing." And we're like, okay, thank you. But we didn't realize the deeper meaning for her, because her husband, I guess his mom was attempting suicide. And it had really affected him to where he had fallen into depression, and there was nothing you could do to bring a smile to his face. She said that she was scrolling through the shows in Vegas and she came upon ours, and she's like, something told me that we needed to go to your show. So they came to our show, and she said that was the first time he smiled in weeks. And it was amazing. You brought him back to the happy memories, the happy times. You brought that spirit of just joy. And I can't thank you enough. So for us, it is awesome to be in the world, but not of the world, and to be able to just share that light of Christ through everything that we do, our countenance, our everything. And I personally love knowing that I'm on stage dancing with priesthood holders. Like, it's super cool. That's my favorite.
That's beautiful. They've got moves. You can be spiritual and still have moves.
Right? You don't need guns or anything. They got the spiritual power there.
By the way, her husband, he's always the hype man. You can catch him dancing all over the place.
Really quickly before we transition, you bring up some of these other names, and you've been able to work with big names who have used your songs, who've done covers of your songs. Britney Spears. I mean, who would have guessed? I'm just saying, this is incredible, this influence that is just perpetuating. What have you felt has been your influence, and what have been maybe some experiences that you've had that have been shifting or life-changing for you in working with these bigger names?
Well, in the industry, our family was known as the 7-Up family because the Grammys or the American Music Awards, they would bring all the champagne and everything. And we're always like, do you have 7-Up or orange juice? So we would just be known everywhere we go. Oh yeah, the Jets are here, get the 7-Up. That was easy to just set that reputation. Working with a big artist like Prince, he wrote a song for us. Gosh, you want to explain it?
Prince wrote a song for us, but it was a little bit risque, and so we politely, declined.
They had to turn it down.
But he told our manager he really admired our family band. He thought that it was so cool to see that, and he would actually step in when Haini was recording some of his songs. He would be in the studio watching, he'd be tapping his big, high heel shoes, and
it was pretty intimidating.
Yeah, it is amazing that we see other artists covering our songs, and I think it's lately with
Peter Cetera from Chicago.
Yeah.
He came up to us and told us that him and his wife, they just love all of our songs, and they were big fans, and just to hear it from big artists like that, or Van Halen, who we bump into.
But it's fun experience meeting and just rubbing shoulders with a lot of these people that we look up to as well. So
yes,
respect.
And it sounds like you've been able to connect on talent and skill and that vision that, they want to help you succeed, and you want to glean and learn from them and help them succeed and support them. And that you've been able to, leave a little bit of that influence and that light, and that is spreading the gospel, just being who you are in all of those places and being not moved, not shifting who you are to cater to expectations, but being able to still be yourself, not annoyingly, but just be yourself so that you can connect on those things, like you said, those commonalities, family, joy, love, connection, light. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, there's one cool story. We met Boy George of Culture Club, and actually he wrote one of the songs that got us our record label, and we went to go see him in Indianapolis back in '84, and we all flew in and just had a great time to sit and chat with him. He was really intrigued about the family. He was also a big Donny Osmond fan, but he was asking us questions about the church. He was asking about Joseph Smith, and so we were telling him about the Book of Mormon, and it was interesting that Boy George, of all people, was interested in hearing about the gospel.
That's incredible. Was there one person that you met or that influenced you more than any others that you feel like they really had a life-shifting impact on your journey?
I guess one of our biggest heroes was the Osmonds growing up. We would look up to their albums, we would listen to their albums, look at the pictures, and that was kind of our focus. We finally had the opportunity to have a family evening with them, and we were able to sit around with all of them, and Alan Osmond told us, guys, we carried the torch for 20, 30 years, and we're handing the torch over to you guys. I remember him saying, with this mantle comes a lot of humility and, all of these wonderful things. And it was a wonderful time because we were able to meet up with the family that inspired us. But at the same time, for them to tell us, you guys can take it to the next level, because our era was the 60s and 70s, and you guys are now taking it from the 80s on to wherever. So I was thinking about it, and that was a great
And then Haini,
inspiration.
he has 14 kids of his own who starts the 13 Crowns, and that's his kids. And I think they're the next legacy to us.
And that is a beautiful segue for us to talk about passing that baton. We mentioned this transition into going from the Jets and your experience of many beautiful years, creating this foundation, having the success, and now you have your children, 14 children that are now calling themselves 13 Crowns. And I want to talk to you about the details of that, because now you're seeing this experience as a parent rather than as a performer. Was this something kind of planned? You and your wife were like, hey, think this could be a good path? Or was it just something the kids sort of naturally fell into?
Well, it probably started when we got married, because when I asked her to marry me, I said, well, if we have a lot of kids, would you like them to be in a band? And she's a singer herself, so We knew from the beginning that if we had a lot of children, they would all be singers. But the hard part was getting them here, and then I had the experience from my father. So I just used the same game plan that my dad did. I got the instruments and started them all young. Luckily, they all love to play, you know. They love to play sports and other things as well, but, you know, music is the one thing they love to do all together as a family.
So, what have you found in their experience is the same or different for you?
I think there's been a lot of similarities because, you know, the music industry, it's changed a lot, so a lot of their experiences are a lot different, and the music today is a lot different as well. But the playing aspect, the practicing, and the sacrificing, all of that is all the same. And, you know, I think they're building the relationships that we had as siblings as well. In this world today, you know, families sometimes are looked down upon, and I think we just want to carry that same torch and mantle. Families can do things together, and families are still wonderful, you know.
I love that. Did you ever get looks when you've gone somewhere? I know I'm a mother of 7, so, you know, the looks and things like that. And are these all yours? Have you ever had that when you've been going places?
I live in California, in Southern California, so we do a lot. But when we go to like Utah, we don't, but yeah. So anything over 3 kids is a lot of kids, for sure.
Anywhere else? And the 13 crowns. So tell us the meaning behind that.
They came up with the name that, you know, everyone is royal, and they just realized they put crowns on it that everyone can be considered royal. And
I love that. And again, perpetuating that light of Christ. I love it. What do you see them doing with their music? What kind of a message and also like a genre are they trying to fill?
So they're a pop R&B group. And I think the key is like what Haini was saying, it's a very different world. MCA Records, back in the 80s, the record labels would do a whole lot more for the artist in terms of development, in terms of making things happen. Now we live in a world where it's all about social media, TikTok, Instagram. And sometimes when I look at what 13 Crowns is doing with how they're marketing themselves, it's a very different world. It's a world where the artist has taken charge of their destiny in terms of, you know, back in the old days in the music industry, the record labels would profit in terms of a record. Nowadays, records are not viewed as a profit, but more as promoting the group. It's all about live music now. It's all about getting out there. So I commend 13 Crowns because there's a lot of artists, they sound good on a record, but when you actually see them live, it's a different story. And that was the one thing I was really grateful that Haini and Sarah, they wanted to make sure that their kids were actual performers on stage. And that's kind of the idea is we live in a world where if you look on YouTube, everyone's a star. There's some people that can sing and all of that. The big question that we talk about a lot is,
What does it look like?
can you entertain? Because that's the main idea is when you get on that stage, you have to give it your all. You have to be able to show people that you're an actual entertainer. And that's the focus, is basically being a band. When I see these kids practicing every day, it reminded me of my dad. He would always tell us, look, you have to be able to get on that stage and show people that you guys are entertainers.
And working with the biggest producers of today, you know, we thought it was very important to be able to be in the world, but not of the world. And working with Pooh Bear, one of the biggest writer-producers of all time, you know, he's produced all of Justin Bieber stuff and some of the biggest hits of the last 5 years. And being able to go to his home and have our family just hang out. He even mentions, the reason I love working with your family is because it's so different from the kind of people he usually works with. And the messages, like the song that he helped write was a song called Grateful. That song has almost 3 million streams, and you'll probably hear it everywhere, Taco Bell, Home Depot, everywhere. You know, we picked that song for a reason, because he even said, I wrote this song, but it doesn't really match anyone that I know other than you guys. And that song that was just released because it's called Together We Stand, and it's about working together as a family and everything. And the same thing he said as well. I wrote this song, but it doesn't match anybody other than you guys. So just being able to work with these great people, it helps my daughters and sons, because they write music as well, to collaborate. And in this new world, everyone's collaborating, you know. it's very rare to see an artist all by themselves. It's usually this person featuring this person, or they're doubling up writing together. And everything's about streaming these days. And so they got their work cut out for them, but I think it's just the next generation of Jets, 13 Crowns is just taking what we started and continuing on. The same as the Osmonds and David Osmond and the Osmond second generation. We're just trying to keep that going as well. And they love it because, they're all youth in the church, so they're part of the young men, young women. The older kids are in the YSA, and they're able to do their church callings and everything, but at the same time be able to pursue music, and a lot of them are online, do their college work online as well. But just try to use their talents again, as we have as well, to share with the world.
That is just so fantastic. And I love that it goes, like you said, those ages, why I say all the way down to 12-year-old on the drums, I love the point that you make that in this journey with your kids, that they are seeing different ways to get their stuff out. And there's different medium now to do that. But there's also such a greater opportunity for greater reach in a quicker, faster way. I mean, I loved the video Grateful, and it's just so, again, that innocence and that cleanness and that perkiness, and there's such a place and a need for that. Do you feel that with the media today, Elder Bednar has talked about us sweeping the earth as a flood on social media to do good. So how do you feel like Latter-day Saint performers can create that experience in the social media realm?
Well, if they dare, it's all out there. Our 13 Crowns has started a TikTok. And I know TikTok can be very controversial, but there's family TikTok, and they got millions and millions of views on TikTok. And, we just figured as parents, we can either bury our heads in the sand, or we can just go with the way the world is going and be part of this whole new revolution of digital media and everything, because it's there and it's been discovered and it's being used for good or bad. And, we've found so much success in using social media, especially the TikToks and the Instagrams, and be able to just put our message out there, positivity and family and accomplishing your goals and reaching your dreams. And even if you do fall, as like their song Together We Stand mentioned, you fall, you stand up, and you just keep going. So it's all about just using these platforms to push positivity and togetherness and acceptance also of all types of people.
And it's easy when you look at social media that you can sometimes fake people out. So the idea is to be yourself, be real, have something foundational, make sure that you can show people that those things are there just to enhance what you are and not replace what that is.
Beautiful. And I love that point that you're making, which is being able to use this for good, making sure that it's not the thing itself, but being able to use it as a tool for good and be able to use it in a way that the Lord has intended to get these messages out in a better way. So I absolutely love that. This has been gorgeous to hear about the 13 Crowns, and we wish them every success. We're so excited to follow what they do and all the beautiful opportunities they have right now, the people they're working with, and the opportunities they have just before them that are coming up. We hope that you've been able to glean some of those beautiful principles to help you as you fulfill your calling to create. We hope this will help you navigate your path on that intersection of faith, creativity, and professional skill. And as always, if you love this interview, then go below, rate, review, and subscribe, and you can get more in your inbox of these wonderful, incredible people and examples of being able to have faith and being able to express your creativity so you can feel called to create.